don't believe this.
You don't? I was gonna ask him to the fall dance.
Do you remember those evenings sitting in front of a bulky, thick-screen TV, waiting for that familiar melody to start playing? The Facts of Life wasn't just a sitcom. It was a companion to an entire generation growing up. We laughed with Natalie, hated and then loved Blair's arrogance, admired Joe's rough-around-the-edges toughness, and followed every glide of little Tootie on her roller skates. But did you know about the brutal weight pressures that turned the set into a harsh diet camp? Or the quiet betrayals behind the scenes that shattered decades-long friendships with a single contract? The Facts of Life was never just a rosy teenage sitcom. It was a story of scarred emotions where actors had to fight the network to hold on to their beliefs and personal identities amid the unforgiving glare of the 1980s spotlight. Today, let's flip open this old photo album and uncover 15 little-known truths about the Facts of Life. 15. The reboot that never happened. When real life isn't like the movies. In the world of Eastland conflicts usually end with a hug and a burst of laughter. In real life, the ending was far more bitter. Rumours of a reunion circulated for years. Fans wanted it. Legendary producer Norman Lear wanted it. Even NBC was ready to sign million-dollar checks for a nostalgic cash-in. The peak came in 2021 when live in front of a studio audience featuring A-list stars like Jennifer Aniston as Blair and Kathryn Hahn, as Joe smashed ratings records. Twitter turned into a massive party. The chemistry exploded and an official reboot seemed practically in the bag. Things moved closer than anyone imagined. A writer was hired. Contracts began rolling and Norman Lear, well into his 90s, was still logging onto Zoom to revive the project. Then came the betrayal. According to Mindy Cohn, Natalie, one member of the core quartet, made a power move that even Blair Warner's scheming couldn't top, quietly cutting a separate spin-off deal behind everyone's backs. That single move didn't just kill the reboot in its infancy, it also blew apart friendships that had lasted for decades. The reboot died. The friendships were bruised beyond repair, and fans were left stuck with old reruns instead of the proper ending they'd hoped for. 14. Charlotte Rae left like a legend. If you grew up with the show, Edna Garrett wasn't just a dormitory house mother on TV. She was the only adult who truly felt safe. She never judged. She listened. She offered sharp advice and warm cookies in that exact order. Charlotte Rae carried the soul of Mrs. Garrett from Diff'rent Strokes into the Facts of Life and turned her into the glue that held Eastland together. For 7 seasons, she was the show's moral compass, a sitcom that also functioned like an emotional boot camp for young girls. But by 1986, Rae knew it was time to hang up the iconic apron. The girls had grown up, she was past 60, and most importantly, she wanted her character to have a dignified exit. Rather than letting Mrs. Garrett fade away, the writers gave her a symbolic ending. She reunited with her old flame, Dr. Bruce. Gaines got married, joined the Peace Corps and flew off to Africa to serve. Charlotte Rae left on her own terms with grace humour and a passport stamped with pride. She passed away in 2018 at the age of 92, leaving behind a legacy of kindness that no on-screen housemother has ever truly replaced. 13. Lisa Whelchel. When rich girl Blair Warner shut the doors on NBC, by the mid-1980s, sitcoms were becoming edgier to reflect social reality. NBC's writers hatched a controversial plan to make Blair Warner the first character to cross the ultimate coming-of-age threshold, losing her virginity. In a show built on innocent dating mishaps and diet-related drama, this was nothing short of a DEFCON 1 alert. But they ran straight into a steel wall. Lisa Whelchel, a devout Christian. Lisa flatly refused. She even demanded that the producers write her out of the show if they went through with the storyline. No half measures, no negotiations. She was willing to walk away from fame to protect her principles. In the end, the infamous Season 9 episode The First Time gave that adult storyline to Natalie instead. Blair. She doesn't appear in the episode at all. It remains the only episode in the entire series without Lisa Whelchel explained away by Blair being conveniently out of town. Her absence became the strongest statement of all. Some boundaries can never be bought with money or ratings. 12. Jerry Jewell. Breaking barriers and a ruthless contract. I still vividly remember a special character who appeared at Eastland, Jerry Blair's cousin. While Blair Warner blushed with embarrassment, television history was quietly smiling. Jerry Jewell, a real-life actress with cerebral palsy, became the first person with a disability to hold a recurring role in primetime television. Jerry didn't come to Eastland to ask for pity. She came to roast Blair with the razor-sharp wit of a professional stand-up comedian. She proved that disability wasn't the punchline, her intelligence was what controlled the room. But the spotlight faded cruelly fast. In 1984, NBC chose not to renew her contract, a classic Hollywood soft firing. Tragedy followed tragedy. Her manager was arrested for fraud, leaving Jerry bankrupt and unemployed at the very peak of her career. The years that followed were a battle with sleeping pills and obscurity. But like a fighter, Jerry rose again. She returned to the screen in HBO's Deadwood and became a motivational speaker at the White House. Jerry Jewell proved one lasting truth. A sitcom role may end, but the spirit of a legend has no limits. 11. The brutal weight pressure behind the scenes. If the 1980s live in your memory as a decade of neon windbreakers and optimism, then backstage at Eastland was a body image nightmare. The girls weren't scrutinised by the audience, but by their own producers. People who treated weight as a production issue that had to be managed. Mindy Cohn. Natalie was forbidden to lose weight. Yes, the network needed a chubby girl for visual contrast. And even if Mindy wanted to be healthier, she was ordered to keep the same clothing size so as not to disrupt the show's visual dynamics. Lisa Whelchel, on the other hand, was pushed to the opposite extreme. She was repeatedly sent to fat camps. Imagine a young girl stepping on a scale every morning like a boxer before a fight. And if the needle shifted even slightly, she would be confronted by therapists brought in to fix her. The cruelty peaked when comedian Joan Rivers mocked the show as the fats of life during a stand-up routine. A vicious joke that pierced straight through the hearts of the young cast. The message NBC sent to viewers was, love yourself. But the message they sent to the actors was, don't be fat, but don't lose weight either, unless we say so. 10. When Natalie shared a mic with Michael Jackson, if you've listened to PYT Pretty Young Thing from the legendary Thriller album thousands of times, congratulations, you've heard Natalie Green's voice without ever knowing it. In 1982, in one of the most surreal moments in pop music history, Quincy Jones invited Mindy Cohn and Janet Jackson into the studio to record background vocals. No paperwork, no credit on the album sleeve, and Mindy didn't receive a single royalty for decades. Quincy simply threw her into the booth and said, just have fun. It's hard to believe that the girl known for tossing pizza jokes at Eastland ended up on the same track as the king of pop. Behind the image of a mischievous schoolgirl, Mindy Cohn had a voice that even the musical wizard Quincy Jones couldn't ignore. 9. Mindy Cohn and her fateful collision with Hollywood. While thousands of teenagers in Los Angeles were willing to do anything to land a role, Mindy Cohn entered show business in the most unexpected way. She didn't audition, she just went to school. In 1979, Charlotte Rae and the producers decided to take a field trip to Westlake School for Girls to study teenage psychology because the writers at the time seemed incapable of talking to their own children. Mindy, then an ordinary student, was assigned to guide the tour around campus. With her quick wit and natural sense of humour, she completely won Charlotte Rae over. Rae instantly became her most devoted hype woman, insisting that the producers put Mindy on the show no matter what. And just like that, the character Natalie Green was created from scratch specifically for Mindy Cohn. Even the name Natalie Green wasn't random. Charlotte Rae used the name of her childhood best friend as a personal gesture of affection. But behind the spotlight was a harsh reality. Mindy's mother refused to let her leave school. While other TV kids had private tutors on set, Mindy had to finish filming and then go home to grind through homework until 11 p.m. She once joked that she felt like a 40-year-old woman trapped in a 17-year-old's body. Natalie's Hollywood dream, it turned out, was built on stacks of algebra books and chronic sleep deprivation. 8. The theme song When the DNA of a Pop Star Took Shape. If you find the Facts of Life theme song impossibly catchy and stuck in your head, that's no accident. The iconic tune was written by Alan Thicke, a major name in television. Though later generations may know him better as the father of pop star Robin Thicke. The Season 1 version was slightly different, but the one etched deepest into our memory is the hug in a song version. A melody that feels like a warm embrace and a perfect sandwich. Its message is simple yet profound. Life has both good and bad, and you have to take them both to grow up. Across 9 seasons, as the cast changed, hairstyles went out of fashion and wardrobes warped with 1980s trends. The theme song stood firm like bedrock. It played in millions of homes at least 400 times over nearly a decade, becoming a piece of cultural DNA for an entire generation. 7. Dear Michael Tootie's love letter on the charts. By 1984, Kim Field's Tootie didn't want to stop at being a sitcom star, she wanted to be a singer. Like many teen stars of the era, she released her debut single, He Loves Me Not. But the real story was on the B-side, a cover of Michael Jackson's Dear Michael. This wasn't a random attempt to ride someone else's fame. Kim Fields had a genuine connection to the Jackson family through her friendship with Janet. And her mother had even played Janet's mother on Good Times. The cover felt like a heartfelt love letter from a younger sister and a close friend to the king of pop. While Kim's music career never matched her acting success, an intriguing twist followed. Her version of Dear Michael climbed to number 50 on the R&B chart, while Michael Jackson's original 1975 version never charted at all. It proved that little Tootie wasn't just about gossip and roller skating at Eastland, she had enough weight to leave her own mark on the global music map. 6. Molly Ringwald, from a ratings casualty to a cinema icon. Before becoming America's irreplaceable teen queen through classics like 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club, Molly Ringwald was just a forgettable face wandering the halls of Eastland. She played Molly Parker in Season 1 at a time, when the show had so many characters that audiences could barely keep track of who was who. By Season 2, the producers decided to purge the cast to tighten the show's focus, and Molly was cut. The reason? At just 12 years old, she was considered too young for the more mature direction that the show wanted to pursue storylines about SAT exams and school dances. Instead, Joe Polniacek, the tough motorcycle-riding newcomer, was introduced as the perfect counterbalance to Blair. Ironically, being written out of Eastland turned out to be the greatest blessing of Molly Ringwald's life. Just a few years later, John Hughes would elevate her into the defining face of an entire generation of teen cinema. Sometimes one door closes only so a far brighter gate can open. 5. The secret behind Tootie's roller skates. Have you ever wondered why in the first season Tootie seemed to roll around on roller skates everywhere, from the kitchen to the most serious conversations? The answer has nothing to do with the character's personality and everything to do with a growth chart. Kim Fields was only 10 years old when the show began. Yet she was playing a 12-year-old boarding school student alongside castmates who were already real teenagers. The height difference was so extreme that camera angles looked awkward. Tootie appeared more like a lost child who'd wandered onto the set than a fellow student. To fix the problem, the producers put her on roller skates. Those extra inches helped balance the frame and kept Kim Fields from looking swallowed up by the rest of the cast. By season 2, once Kim had visibly grown, the skates vanished without a trace. What became Tootie's signature was in reality just a clever visual trick, one that also helped skirt child labour restrictions and fool the audience's eye. 4. George Clooney, the handyman and the legal plot twist. Before becoming Hollywood's ultimate leading man, or the beloved doctor on ER, George Clooney was George Burnett, the Eastland handyman sporting a legendary mullet. But his time on the show was anything but smooth. Clooney was once fired after a heated argument with a new producer. He was accused of deliberately acting badly during a rehearsal to embarrass network executives. Clooney denied it, insisting it was simply a dispute over an awful script. The result, he was kicked off the set. Then came a legal twist because Clooney was still under contract. The network was forced to take him back. The return was so awkward that everyone involved just wanted to forget the drama as quickly as possible. George stayed briefly before leaving for good, soon beginning his journey toward global superstardom. 3. NBC's spin-off addiction and 7 missed swings. Across 9 seasons, NBC treated the facts of life like a golden goose and was determined to squeeze it dry. The network threw every idea at the wall, 7 different backdoor pilot episodes in total, and ended up with a perfect 0. They tried sending Tootie and Natalie to visit Aunt Sylvia in a darker, edgier setting with Richard Dean Anderson before he became MacGyver. Failure. They tried a male version of the facts of life at the Stone Academy Military School. Even in the final season, they moved Natalie into a Soho loft with eccentric roommates, or turned Blair into Eastland's headmistress with a brand new group of students that included future stars like Mayim Bialik and Seth Green. On paper, it all sounded promising, but audiences said no. Perhaps nostalgia has its limits, and Eastland's legacy only truly shines when the full legendary quartet is together. 2. Mrs. Garrett. From Sesame Street, mail carrier to America's Mum. Before becoming Edna Garrett, the woman who served life lessons with cookies at Eastland, Charlotte, Ray literally delivered mail. Believe it or not, she once played Molly the Mail Lady on the legendary educational program Sesame Street. Ray spent the early years of her career teaching children the alphabet and proper pronunciation. That time spent training young minds on Sesame Street helped shape the compassionate yet razor-sharp Mrs. Garrett who came later. Parents trusted her because they had once trusted her to teach their children to read. Kids loved her because she felt like a truly national aunt, someone who genuinely cared about their problems. Charlotte Ray wasn't just an actress, she was an educator in an artist's clothing. Someone who devoted her life to shaping young minds, whether on Sesame Street or at the Eastland boarding school. From unwanted stepchild to an astonishing comeback over The Parent Show, few people realised that the facts of life was actually spun off from Diff'rent Strokes. But instead of waving goodbye to Mrs. Garrett at the door of the Drummond family's Park Avenue penthouse, the Drummonds kept dropping by Eastland as if it were their second home. Arnold and Willis appeared frequently in Season 1, firing off their trademark jokes amid a sea of prep school girls. Kimberly Drummond was even written as an Eastland student in the original concept, but she was never made a regular character because producers feared weakening Diff'rent Strokes. Ironically, this very spin-off went on to outlive its parent series, become more successful, and stand tall for 9 seasons, ultimately stepping out of its predecessor's shadow. And those are 15 strange truths behind the pastel-coloured frames of the facts of life. From roller skates hiding a height gap, to betrayals that shattered a dream reboot Eastland gave us far more than just laughter. Which facts surprised you the most? Or is there another deep cut about Blair, Joe Natalie and Tootie that I missed? Drop a comment below and let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep digging up the cinematic memories that raised us. See you in the next video.